The email arrived on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always my busiest day at the architectural firm. I was buried in blueprints trying to finalize the designs for a new community center in Akron when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my personal email account, a place I rarely checked during work hours. The subject line was simple: meeting notes. I almost dismissed it. Probably spam, I thought. But something nagged at me, a faint unease that I couldn't shake off. Maybe it was the stress of the project, or maybe it was something deeper, a premonition I didn't understand at the time. So I opened it. The email was addressed to my wife, Isolde, and a man named Percival. I didn't recognize the name. The content was innocuous enough at first, discussing project milestones and upcoming deadlines. Isolde worked as a marketing director for a tech startup, and Percival apparently was a colleague. But then, as I scrolled further down, the tone shifted. There were inside jokes, references to private conversations, and then a lingering "P.S. Can't wait for Friday night." My heart clenched. Friday night. Isolde had told me she was attending a marketing conference out of state, a conference where she would be alone with Percival. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My hands trembled as I reread the email, searching for some innocent explanation, some way to dismiss the growing dread in my gut. But there was none. Isolde and I had been married for 15 years. We met in college, a clique I know. I was the shy architecture student sketching in the library, and she was the vibrant, outgoing marketing major who somehow saw something in me. We built a life together, a comfortable, predictable life in Cleveland. We bought a house in the suburbs, adopted a golden retriever named Gus, and navigated the ups and downs of our respective careers. We weren't perfect, of course. We had our disagreements, our occasional rough patches, but I always believed that our love was solid, a bedrock of trust and commitment. Now, staring at that email, I felt that bedrock crumbling beneath my feet. I closed my laptop, the blueprints blurring before my eyes. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't breathe. I needed to talk to Isolde, but she was unreachable, supposedly in a conference room hundreds of miles away. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, going through the motions of my job while my mind raced. I replayed our marriage in my head, searching for clues I had missed, signs of discontent I had ignored. Had I been blind? Had I been so focused on my work that I had failed to notice Isolde drifting away? That evening, I couldn't bring myself to cook dinner. I just sat in the living room, staring out the window at the darkening sky, Gus nudging my hand with his wet nose. He sensed my distress, I think. Animals always do. Isolde called later that night, her voice bright and cheerful. "How's my favorite architect?" she asked. Anything exciting happened today? I wanted to scream, to confront her with the email, to demand an explanation. But I held back, wanting to hear her lie, to see if she would even try to deceive me. "Just the usual," I said, my voice flat. "Busy with the community center project." "Oh, that's right," she said. "Well, I'm stuck here at the conference until Sunday. It's actually pretty boring. Lots of PowerPoint presentations and awkward networking events, I'm sure," I said, my voice laced with sarcasm that she didn't seem to notice. "Well, have a good night. I miss you." "I miss you too," she said. "I'll call you tomorrow." I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. The lie was so blatant, so casually delivered. It was then that I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that Isolde was having an affair. The next few days were a blur of anxiety and sleepless nights. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely function at work. I found myself obsessively checking Isolde's social media accounts, searching for any hint of her whereabouts. I even considered hiring a private investigator, but the thought of stooping to that level disgusted me. Finally, Sunday arrived. I waited for Isolde at the airport, my stomach churning with a mixture of anger and dread. I watched as passengers disembarked, scanning their faces for any sign of guilt or remorse. And then I saw her. She was walking towards me, her smile wide and welcoming. She looked beautiful, radiant even, as if she had spent the weekend relaxing at a spa, not betraying her husband. I noticed that she was walking alongside a man, Percival. They weren't holding hands or even standing close, but there was an undeniable familiarity between them, a shared intimacy that cut me to the core. I stood frozen, unable to move as they approached. "Garrett, darling," Isolde exclaimed, rushing to embrace me. I missed you so much, I forced a smile, my eyes fixed on Percival. Isolde, I said, my voice tight. Who's this? Isolde's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Oh, this is Percival. He's a colleague from work. He was on the same flight. Pleasure to meet you, Percival said, extending his hand. He was tall and handsome, with a confident, almost arrogant demeanor. I shook his hand, my grip firm. I wanted to crush his bones. The drive home was excruciating. Isolde chattered about the conference, recounting anecdotes and sharing insights. I nodded and murmured in response, my mind reeling. Percival sat in the back, silent and watchful. As soon as we arrived home, I confronted Isolde. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I know about the email, I said, my voice trembling with rage. I know about Friday night. Isolde's face paled. What email? She stammered. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me, I said. I saw the email. I know you're having an affair with Percival. Isolde burst into tears. It's not what you think, she sobbed. It was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness, I repeated, my voice rising. You lied to me, you betrayed me. How could you do this to me, Isolde? I don't know, she cried. I was lonely. I felt neglected. You were always so busy with your work. That's no excuse, I shouted. The argument escalated, fueled by years of unspoken resentments and unresolved conflicts. We screamed and shouted, our voices echoing through the empty house. Gus cowered in the corner, whimpering. Finally, exhausted and defeated, I stormed out of the house. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind numb with grief and anger. I couldn't believe that my marriage, my life, had been reduced to this. I ended up at a bar, drowning my sorrows in cheap whiskey. I met a man there, an older gentleman with kind eyes and a sympathetic ear. He listened patiently as I poured out my heart, offering words of comfort and advice. Sometimes, he said, the best thing you can do is walk away. You deserve someone who loves you, who respects you, who would never betray you. His words resonated with me. I knew he was right. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and deceit. I deserved better. The next day I filed for divorce. Isolde was devastated. She begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair and work on our marriage. But I was done. The trust was broken, irreparable. The divorce was messy and painful. We fought over assets, property, and custody of Gus. We eventually agreed to shared custody. But I stood my ground, refusing to be swayed by Isolde's tears and pleas. In the end, I walked away with nothing but my dignity and Gus. I moved into a small apartment downtown, started a new job, and began the long, arduous process of healing. It wasn't easy. There were days when I missed Isolde terribly, when I longed for the comfort and familiarity of our old life. But I reminded myself of the betrayal, the lies, the pain. And I knew that I had made the right decision. Years passed. I focused on my career, my friendships, and my own personal growth. I even started dating again, cautiously dipping my toes back into the dating pool. One day I received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. It was Isolde. Garrett, she said, her voice weak and trembling. I need your help. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding. What is it, Isolde? I asked. Percival left me, she said. He took all my money and ran off with another woman. I felt a pang of sympathy for her despite everything. I'm sorry to hear that, Isolde, I said. I have nowhere to go, she sobbed. Can I come stay with you just for a little while? I paused, considering her request. Part of me wanted to slam the phone down, to revel in her misery. But another part of me, the part that still cared for her, couldn't bear to see her suffer. No, Isolde, I said finally. I can't let you stay with me, but I'll help you find a place to go. I'll give you some money to get back on your feet. I met her later that day, handing her a check and a list of resources for women in need. She looked defeated, a shadow of the vibrant woman I had once loved. Thank you, Garrett, she said, her eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve this, maybe not, I said. But everyone deserves a second chance. I watched as she walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I knew that I would never forget her, that she would always be a part of my story. But I also knew that I had made the right choice. I had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. I had released the anger and resentment that had consumed me for so long. And in that moment I felt a sense of peace, a sense of closure. I was finally free. I eventually met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman named Winona who loved me for who I was. We built a life together, a life filled with trust, respect, and unwavering support. I learned that love could be found again, even after the most devastating betrayal. Looking back, I realized that Isolde's affair, as painful as it was, had ultimately made me a stronger, more resilient person. It had taught me the importance of self-respect, the value of forgiveness, and the enduring power of love. And sometimes that's all we can ask for.